Thank you, Claude. First, I'd like to thank Mayor Tashura Jones, Missouri AFL-CIO Senior Political and Legislative Representative, and Senator Carl LeMay, Congresswoman Cori Bush, and Vice President Claude Cummings, of course, for that great introduction. You know, I got to say, this is a weird moment for me, but we'll get through it. Good morning, Union family. Come on, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the 79th Convention of the Communications Workers of America. Before I begin my remarks, I have one more welcome I want to share with you. As all of you know or should know, Joe Biden is the most pro-labor in any of our lifetimes. I'll talk more about why that is in a few minutes, but for now, I want to share his message he has sent with you.
Hello, CWA, and a big thanks to Chris Shelton for over 50 years with this union. You've done a hell of a job, pal. Chris, as you know, I've said many times, Wall Street didn't build America, the middle class built America, and unions built the middle class. And I promised you in the beginning I'd always have your back, and I have. Across America, we're seeing a transformation of an economy that grows from the middle out and the bottom up instead of the top down. Folks are calling it Bidenomics, and union workers are leading the way. We're making a once-in-a-generation investment in our nation's infrastructure. The biggest ever high-speed internet with fiber optic cable made in America, installed by the CWA workers. And we're investing in key industries of the future, creating tens of thousands of union manufacturing jobs, making semiconductors, electric cars, clean energy, so much more. This nation is about to take off, and union workers are at the center of that takeoff. We worked like the devil to pass the Bush-Lewis Act, but I'm not going to stop until we pass the PRO Act to fix the tax code. Because no billionaire should pay less than a call center operator or a cable technician. It's simply wrong. I make no apologies. I'm proud to be the most pro-union president in history. And guess what? The most pro-union president in history has reduced the deficit in my first 2 years by $1.7 trillion. They say we're the big spenders. They want to extend a multi-billion-dollar tax cut to the wealthy. Together, Chris, you and I and the CWA are proving it's never been a good bet against the American worker, and we're sure not going to do it now. So God bless you all. Thank you for your help, and may God protect our troops.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the members of the CWA Executive Board, and particularly our Canadian locals and members, I want to acknowledge the many years of service and dedication of CWA Canada Director Martin O'Hanlon. Join me in giving Martin a round of applause as we wish him a hard-earned, healthy, and happy retirement. Brothers and sisters, after 3 very tough years, it's wonderful to be together in person here in St. Louis. Zoom is great, but actually Zoom sucks. And I'm really, really glad that we don't have to do the convention virtually the way we did 2 years ago. On a more serious note, I hope that all of you and all of your family, friends, co-workers, and loved ones are safe and healthy. We seem to have finally made it to the other side of some frightening and sorrowful times. Far too many of us suffered devastating losses. Let us now observe a moment of silence for all the family, friends, co-workers, and other loved ones we have lost over the last 3 years. Thank you. Okay, my friends, As you probably imagine, this is kind of a bittersweet moment for me. This will be my final convention kickoff speech to you as President of the Communication Workers of America. On the one hand, after 8 years as your president, I'm looking forward to being liberated from the day-to-day grind of the work that we have to do. It will be a new phase of my life, a time to spend with Joyce, my wife, and my kids and grandkids and my friends. A time to take a deep breath and relax. But I'm not going to lie, I'm going to miss this job. I'm going to miss all of you. Well, most of you. More than anything, I'm going to miss waking up every day and being part of the never-ending struggle of working people in this country to build a more just and equitable and generous society. I'm going to miss this union. For the last 55 years, ever since I went to work as an installer repairman for New York Telephone right out of high school in 1968, the Communications Workers of America has been my life. As a shop steward and chief steward in Local 1101, as a staff rep, area director, assistant to the vice president, and District 1 vice president. And for the last 8 years, as president of the greatest union on this planet. I'm not exaggerating when I say that everything I have in my life, everything, my standard of living, my home, the health and retirement security that I will soon begin to enjoy, the security I was able to provide my children, I owe to this union. The union gave me a small piece of the American dream, and there are literally millions of CWA members, past and present, who have been part of this union at one point or another during the last 85 years, who can say the very same thing. When I went to work for New York Telephone, I never dreamed that one day I'd be standing on this platform. I mean, I was pro-union from day one. My parents made sure of that. My father was an Irish immigrant who worked for the post office, and he was part of the giant national wildcat strike in 1970 that won collective bargaining for postal workers. My mother helped to organize the union at the Catholic school where she taught. They both taught me that if you worked on a union job, you needed to be union. You got active in the union, and you never, ever, ever so much as thought about crossing a picket line. And I never have, and I never will. So I became a shop steward in Local 1101, even before I passed my probation period. And I've been active in this union ever since. But becoming president of the union, a Bronx kid who barely graduated high school, never crossed my mind, not for one split second. So here we are, more than a half-century later, and I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, it's been the greatest honor of my life, the greatest privilege I could ever imagine, to be elected by all of you to lead this union. You've trusted me to represent you with the CEOs of some of the biggest corporations in the world, to represent CWA with governors across the country, even to speak for CWA in the Oval Office of the White House with the President of the United States. I'm deeply humbled by the trust and faith you've placed in me, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Of course, nobody does a job like this by themselves. I want to thank Sarah Stephens, Secretary-Treasurer of CWA. I also want to recognize and particularly thank my Chief of Staff, Jody Calamine. My two assistants, Shane Lawson and Amina Salam. And Senior Director of Organizing, Tom Smith. Also, of course, I want to thank my colleagues on the Executive Board. Please salute them for their leadership. I want to thank all of the amazing staff of this union, the people who implement bargaining, organizing, and political programs of CWA. Please recognize the incredible work of our staff out there. And I want to thank each and every one of you, the local officers and local leaders of our union. You are the backbone of this union. You are the lifeblood of our union. You are in the trenches every single day, dealing with grievances, fighting for good contracts, walking on picket lines, lobbying and campaigning for elected offices, organizing new members into the union. You fight for our members every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Without all of you, there is no union. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything you do. But most of all, today, I want to thank my family. They put up with so much, with the constant travel, the constant phone calls, the missed weekends and family events. And I won't say they never complained, but because they all believe in this union, because they all understood why I was doing what I was doing, they rarely complained, and they always, always supported me. I am so happy to have my family here with me today. And I asked them to stand up. My wife, Joyce. We actually got married at a CWA convention in 1991. Joyce was a union leader in her own right as the former executive vice president of CWA Local 1110, the downstate New York traffic local. Joyce, I love you and thank you for putting up with all my shit for all these years. My kids and their spouses, my son Brian and his wife Tiffany, and their daughter Cadence. My daughter Kimberly, her husband Phil, and their two kids Maya and Abby. And my niece Holly. Thank you for supporting me all these years. Thank you for being with me here today. And now I'm issuing an official warning. Whether you like it or not, you're going to be seeing a lot more of me over the next couple of years. So get ready. Please give my family the acknowledgement they deserve. This morning, brothers and sisters, I want to reflect on some of the lessons I've learned over the last 55 years. I want to close by leaving you with some thoughts about what CWA must do to thrive in the decades to come. One of the first and foremost enduring lessons I learned as a CWA member is that when we fight, we win. And if we don't fight, we don't win. Just 3 years after I went to work at New York Telephone, there was a national strike at AT&T. The whole country stayed out for 2 weeks, but over 38,000 New York State plant technicians voted down that local agreement. So we stayed out for a total of 218 days. It was tough. We had our heads beaten by the New York City cops, me included, but nothing Ma Bell did, nothing could break us. At the time, a lot of people, including a lot of members, said we lost the strike. But we went back to work after 7.5 months on the picket line. After all we got was a $1 extra in wages to the top craft, and a Saturday differential, and a real agency shop for the first time. But what a lot of people didn't understand at the time is that we showed Ma Bell that we could not be broken and would not be broken. We sent the message, one day longer, one day stronger, even if that final day was the 218th day on the picket line. And so when bargaining rolled around in 1974, and at long last, AT&T had finally agreed to national bargaining, New York plant workers weren't worried. We weren't afraid. We were more ready to fight than ever. Local 1101, my local, actually put out a button that said 7 more in 74. In 71, we proved we would fight. We proved that we could not be broken. We sent a message to the biggest company in America at the time that we were a force to be dealt with. When you fight, brothers and sisters, you win. When you fight, you win. But I've learned something else since then. Yes, when you fight, you win, but we also need to know how to fight smart. CWA members know how to fight smart. That's why we win our strikes. Because as a union, we've learned how to be sophisticated and effective. We know that the days of walking on a picket line and waiting for the boss to just cave in are long, long gone. We know that when you go on strike, we have to have mobile pickets and follow the scabs and picket them wherever they try to do the work. We know that we have to reach out to the rest of the labor movement and to our communities and allies and make sure we get their support. We know that we have to win over the politicians and get the public on our side. We know we need a good message and ground our fight in issues that the public can understand and will support. We know that before we go on strike, we have to train our members so that they understand the issues and they're prepared to fight and know what it will take to win. We know that if you go out on strike, we absolutely must have a plan to get our issues resolved so we can get back in wherever we're on strike from. And I know that this is a lesson that has been learned by everyone in this union. When we fight smart, we win smart. And I know that long after I'm gone, our union will keep fighting smart and keep winning big because we, brothers and sisters, are CWA. Here's the second lesson I've learned over the last half century. Unions must organize or we will die. I'll be honest, when I started out in the labor movement, we didn't think much about non-union workers. Ma Bell was a monopoly, and we all worked in the same industry. Yes, we knew we had to bring the operators and the commercial department into CWA from the old company unions. We knew we needed the power of numbers at Ma Bell, but we focused on ourselves, on our wages, our benefits, our working conditions. I know that all of you know this by now, but we are long past the time when just focusing on ourselves is enough. When I went to work for New York Telephone in 1968, over 28% of all workers in this country belonged to a union. Union wages and benefits set the standard for much of the private sector. Today, density has fallen to 10% and is only 6% in the private sector. 6%, brothers and sisters. That means that 94% of private sector workers are getting ripped off every day that they go to work. They're getting screwed by just showing up at work. It means that every time we go to the bargaining table, the wages and working conditions of non-union workers get thrown in our face as the reason we have to give up raises, give up pensions, give up health care. Here's another thing. when 94% of the private sector workforce is non-union, workers just don't have enough political power in our country. It's harder and harder for us to fight and win in the legislative improvements that we need to make the lives of all working people better. Universal paid medical care, subsidized child care, free higher education, universal health coverage, increased Social Security benefits, more rights for workers to organize. My friends, as I go out the door, I'm asking you to rededicate yourselves to this critically important goal. We must organize, organize, organize to build our union and build the entire labor movement. Tens of millions of workers desperately need a voice at work. Shame on us if we don't help them, give them the power that they deserve to do that. Right now, we have more opportunities to organize workers than we've had in decades. Public opinion is more pro-union than at any time since 1965. In just the last 2 years, CWA has organized nearly 10,000 new members into our union. We are seeing growing interest in joining our union in many different sectors, including gaming and tech, where we have a groundbreaking neutrality agreement at Microsoft, at nonprofit organizations and in healthcare, at traditional and digital media. Congratulations to the Newspaper Guild for amazing organizing wins at the New York Times and Condé Nast. Our brothers and sisters at IUE had big breakthroughs at New Flyer and won historic organizing rights agreements at 2 offshore wind factories GE is pledging to build in the Hudson Valley in New York. This is fantastic progress. My friends, this is an opportunity and a lead of who we are. In all my years, we've never had such a favorable environment for organizing. Organizing must be a top priority for every local in CWA. Finally, I want to talk to you about politics. My message is simple. Politics matters. Politics is huge. Politics can affect whether we win or lose a strike, an organizing drive, or a contract fight. When we have real friends in state legislators, when we have real friends in governor's office, when we have a real friend in the White House, it makes all the difference in the world. Here's the message I want to leave you with. Joe Biden is far and away, no debate whatsoever, the most pro-union president in all our lifetimes. And we are ready to do everything we can to re-elect him so that he can finish the job that he started 2 years ago. I could go through a long list of everything he's done for working people since he became president, but we'd be here a long time, and I really am looking forward to retiring. But here are some of just the highlights. Let's start with Marty Walsh, the recent Secretary of Labor. A former member of the Laborers Union, Marty Walsh was there for CWA whenever I called him. We became fast friends during his time as Secretary of Labor. It was pretty amazing, but we did. He was there no matter what time, day or night. He was there to walk a picket line, to put pressure on a boss, to put pressure on the members of the cabinet, to carry our message to the president. Marty Walsh was simply unbelievable, and he made it clear that the Department of Labor under the Biden administration is absolutely on the side of workers. And then, of course, there's our own Jennifer Abruzzo, who became General Counsel of the NLRB after 3 years as a senior counsel to CWA. Jennifer went to the board determined to use every available scrap of power to change the direction of the board, to set new policy, to make the NLRB a true ally and a truly powerful force for workers, not for bosses. And she followed through. We've never had a greater friend at the NLRB than Jennifer. President Biden hasn't just made great appointments. During the height of the pandemic, he pushed Congress to provide federal funds to keep state and local employees, as well as flight attendants and passenger service agents on the job. He ensured that labor standards were included in the legislation providing federal funds for broadband build-out, and strengthened Buy America provisions to ensure that federal funds are spent on products that are made in America. He increased the minimum wage for employees on federal contracts, directly giving a raise to thousands of Maximus workers fighting to join CWA. He convinced Congress to finally allow Medicare to negotiate for lower prescription drug prices and put a $35 cap on insulin. When it's time to make decisions that affect working people, he doesn't ask CEOs how they feel. He doesn't really care. And he doesn't ask Wall Street investors what they think. He talks to workers. He talks to us. He has literally invited us into the White House, not just union leaders like me, but union members, CWA members, to talk about what it will take to provide reliable broadband internet to every household, what we experienced during organizing campaigns, what the impact of AI has been on our work. Joe Biden respects who we are and what we think. You know who doesn't respect us or anyone? Donald Trump. And they wouldn't let me say what I wanted to say, but. Right now, it seems pretty clear that Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee for president in 2024. I really can't believe I'm saying those words. If anything, Donald Trump is more unhinged than he's ever been, which is saying something. You know, he says things like, January 6th was a beautiful day. He's going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. And I don't know if you caught this one, but he's going to destroy the so-called deep state by eliminating all civil service protections for federal employees and firing tens of thousands of hard-working, unionized government workers. Donald Trump is a menace to all of us in so many ways I can't even begin to count. But my friends, let me say this. We've defeated Donald Trump and his election-denying band of proto-fascist sympathizers before, and we are going to defeat him again if they decide they're going to nominate him. The 2024 election will be a fight for our democracy, a fight to protect our most fundamental rights, a fight to protect our labor movement. And I know that each and every one of you understand what's at stake here. You know what the differences are between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And I'm counting on you, wherever you live, whether it's in Wisconsin or Pennsylvania or Georgia or Arizona, whether you live a day's drive or 2 days' drive away from those critical battlegrounds, to mobilize like never before to defend the most pro-labor president we've ever had. I know you will get the job done, brothers and sisters. My friends, I want to close by saying a few things about democracy, both inside and outside our union. The Republican Party in this country no longer believes in democracy. They know their policies are unpopular. cutting Social Security and Medicare, busting unions, tax cuts for corporations and the wealthiest, allowing big oil companies to keep destroying the planet, preventing women from making their own health decisions. The Republicans have two strategies to deal with the unpopularity of their actual policies. First, they do everything possible to stoke fear and anxiety, attacking the rights of America's young people who are transgender, attacking public schools that teach the truth about the history of slavery in America, attacking immigrants for allegedly taking our jobs, even when the unemployment rate is as low as it's been in half a century. That's strategy number one, and a lot of Americans are falling for it, I'm sorry to say. The second strategy is perhaps even more insidious. That is the Republicans' plan to whittle away our democracy through limitations on the right to vote and trying to imitate voters who oppose their agenda, mostly people of color, from actually voting. They try to cancel the votes of millions of Americans, again, especially people of color, by using their power to draw drastically gerrymandered district lines. Republicans don't care about the will of the people. They don't care about majority rule. They don't care about democracy. All they care about is power. We Americans have always thought of ourselves as special, and we are. We pride ourselves on being the oldest democracy on the planet. But now I'm worried, brothers and sisters. It seems like in their anxiety and anger, tens of millions of Americans are willing to give up democracy, to silence rather to engage people that they disagree with, who are different than them. We are in a historic fight to protect our cherished democracy. This union and the entire labor movement must be prepared to demonstrate to protect democracy, because unions only flourish in a healthy democracy. And unions are the key that working people have a voice in that democracy. But democracy is not just crucial for the future of our country. Democracy is also crucial inside unions. Democracy makes unions strong. Unions are the best when the members run the union, when the needs and concerns of the members are the priority of the organization. As I come to the end of my career in the labor movement, as I look around the rest of the labor movement, I have come to believe that democracy is part of what makes CWA special. Our democratic traditions run deep. The voice of our members can always be heard. Most other major unions hold conventions every 4 years, in some cases every 5 years. We hold conventions every 2 years. That means that CWA leadership has to stand before you, the delegates who represent our entire membership, and be accountable to you for what they've been doing for the last 2 years. We ensure each member is treated fairly by following the procedures outlined in our Constitution. That Constitution is a living document. You, the delegates, can and frequently do amend it as necessary to reflect on what's changing in our union. Same goes for collective bargaining. Our elected bargaining committees settle our contracts, not some unaccountable leader in a private room somewhere with the boss. Members' voices are always heard, so that when we act, we act together. When we fight together. When we win together. Sometimes democracy, brothers and sisters, can be a pain in the ass. And sometimes it can get all messy and contentious, as we've seen over the last few months in our union. I know that a lot of you have strong feelings about who should lead our union going forward. And some of those feelings have gotten pretty raw. It is our responsibility as members of this great union and delegates to this convention to look at the records of those running for office, to examine the facts, and to make a decision that you believe is the best interest of your union as a whole, not just for you, not just for one local or one sector or one district, but for all of us. Then after the votes are cast and counted, after our new officers are sworn in, we must come back together, as our Constitution says, as a single, cohesive labor union for the purpose of collective effort. I urge you, brothers and sisters, never to forget, our enemies are not in this room. We may have differences, even strong differences, but we are not and never will be enemies. In fact, we are on the same side and always will be. Never, ever forget who we are fighting for, the working class of this country, and who we are fighting against, the bosses and the bankers and the fascists and the people who think that their personal wealth and power are more important than the dignity of working people. That's who the enemy is. My friends, over the last 30 minutes, I've talked about the most important lessons I've learned after 55 years of belonging to this great union. The things I've talked about are not rocket science. Smart, strategic militancy and the willingness to fight, the need to organize, the critical importance of political action, the importance of the fight for democracy, both in our country and our union. These values, these priorities, are a legacy that I inherited from the CWA presidents who came before me, most especially from the late, great Morty Barr and from my immediate predecessor, Larry Cohen. In the nearly 38 years since Morty Barr became president, this union has become one of the most militant, democratic, politically sophisticated, and progressive unions in this country. Morty was a brilliant bargainer, implemented mobilization as a national program, made us a political powerhouse, and oversaw the growth and diversification of this union. Larry came to our union as an organizer, and he instilled in this union a culture of always organizing, always mobilizing, and building the union. He also taught us that labor is part of a broader social movement and must constantly build alliances with other pro-worker organizations. In my 8 years in this job, I've tried to build on and expand and strengthen those traditions. We've fought the bosses across the country. We've intensified and expanded our organizing efforts. We've campaigned to elect pro-labor candidates. I'm proud of our union. I'm proud of what we have done. I deeply believe that what we are doing is critically important to our members and to the entire working class. I've worked every single day of the last 8 years to build on these traditions. But over the last 30 or 40 years, our union has faced profound challenges. Our telecom membership keeps shrinking as technology changes and competition grows. State and local governments have faced repeated fiscal crises. Private sector density continues to fall. The vast majority of employers will go to any extent to defeat unions. And in truth, for most of my career as a labor leader, certainly from the time that Ronald Reagan fired the air traffic controllers in 1981, our movement has been under attack, on the defensive, repeatedly blamed for America's woes. But my friends, I believe that at long last, the anti-union climate is shifting. Unions are on the rise. Workers are organizing. We've seen a significant increase in strikes. Finally, CWA is not the only union going on strike anymore. And in the next few weeks and months, we could see some of the biggest strikes in recent times at the largest private sector employer in the nation, UPS, and at the big three auto companies. I know that if 350,000 UPS workers decide to go on strike and 150,000 auto workers decide to go on strike, our members, including me, will be the first ones to join those picket lines in solidarity. Because we know how important it is to have that support on the picket line. Will I see you on those picket lines? Come on, I want to see you on those picket lines. Is it going to happen? I'm going to hold you to that. My friends, I'm on my way out the door after 55 years. The time has come for me to move out of the way and let new leadership continue the great traditions of this great union. But I have one message to leave you, which is this: seize the moment. We have an opportunity to organize like we've never seen in decades. Fear is giving way to confidence. Union busting is giving way to organizing. All of us, every one of us in this room, must rededicate ourselves to growing the labor movement, growing CWA. Nothing could be more important. I want to ask you, brothers and sisters, are you ready to go out and organize? Yeah. Are you ready to go out and build the labor movement? Yeah. Are you ready to give millions of workers the opportunity that each and every one of us who belongs to this union has enjoyed? I know you are, my union family, and I know that you are ready to fight, to organize, to campaign, to advance the cause of all workers in this country and across the globe. I'm counting on you. I know you can do it. I know you will do it. Serving as the president of this union has been the greatest honor of my life. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for trusting me with that responsibility. I couldn't have done it without the support of everyone on this podium, every one of our great staff, and without all of you. So I got to say, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that this union is much bigger and much greater than any of us. I know that after I'm gone, whoever leads this union, with the support of all you, will carry on the work. You will continue to build on the legacy of militancy, the legacy of democracy, the legacy of organizing, the legacy of political action and coalition building that there has been in the lifeblood of this union. I know that all of you will work every single day to ensure that this union continues to be the greatest union in the world. My friends, are you ready to keep fighting? Are you ready to fight the bosses every day? Are you ready to fight for our members every day? Yeah. Are you ready to campaign for pro-labor candidates? Yeah. Are you ready to fight for pro-worker legislation in your state houses, in city halls, in the halls of Capitol Hill? Yeah. Are you ready to organize, organize, organize? Yeah. I can't hear you. Stand up if you're ready to fight. Stand up if you're ready to campaign. Stand up if you're ready to organize. Stand up if you're committed, if you're determined in your heart and your soul to build a powerful workers' movement that will make this great, great country not just for the rich and powerful, but a great country for the 99%, a great country for all working people. Stand up, and get ready to carry on the fight, to build our movement, to bring justice, fairness, and democracy to our country. Thank you, my friends. Thank you. Together we will fight. Together we will march. Together we will organize. Together we will win. Thank you, brothers and sisters.